Welcome to Promote, Profit, Publish. I'm your host, Juliet Clark, and today's guest is a really interesting guy. And you guys are probably like, whoa, we're having a guy? Yes, we have a guy on the show. I know lately we've had a lot of people, a lot of women. Most of my clientele is women, but occasionally we talk to men too. So before we get started, I want to remind you to go over to www.breakthroughauthormagazine.com, get your free subscription. If you're listening to this podcast, you're more than likely someone who's looking to build an author brand around your book to help with your business. And the magazine has great tips, tricks, platform building, marketing, publicity, publishing, book development, everything you want is right over there. Plus, we highlight some of our authors in there as well. Also, if you're more visual, check us out over on YouTube. You can subscribe at Super Brand Publishing, and you can watch all these episodes over there. So today's guest, a little background here why I asked him on. When we do our platform building with our clients, a lot of times they don't understand that this is not an overnight thing that's happening. Much of it is online marketing, and that is used for the audience building, and then there's relationship building. And back in 2013, I was actually sitting in a networking meeting where I was the president of the networking group that month, or that year actually. And we were maybe 5 months in. And I was really frustrated because none of these people were growing. It was the same breakfast every month. And it was really kind of an I'll scratch my back, you scratch yours. How many leads have you given me? And how many do I need to give you? And it just really didn't feel good to me anymore. I didn't feel like what I wanted to do. So I left the meeting that day and I planned a mastermind for the next meeting. And in the next meeting's mastermind, my question was, what can you guys tell me about building a global audience? I've been seeing a lot about it. It's something I want to do. My clients are mostly local now. And they all gave me blank stares. You would swear that I had, 3 or 4 heads looking back at them. And I left the networking meeting that day. And I called an old friend of mine who I knew was in the coaching space. He used to be a real estate coach, a very successful one when I was back in real estate. And I had been watching what he was doing online, and I knew that this is where I was going to begin. So I hired him, started getting that online. And I'm telling you guys, talk about intention. I went in, I quit the networking group the following week, which really wasn't well received considering I was the president of it. And within a month and a half, within 6 weeks, I had a global clientele. I was learning how to reach out to those people and build that audience and go to the next step. And I was so grateful for that in 2016 when my mother passed away, because I had to relocate suddenly. And I had a business that I could actually pick up and take with me and work from my hometown that I grew up in, which I wasn't happy to be there. I do have to say that. But I was really grateful that I had spent 3 years building this tremendous online business. And that brings me to today's guest, because in the worst of times, his business has thrived. My guest today is Aziz Alhamdan. I hope I said that right. And from being a poor boy, born to a single mother in North Africa, and with no opportunities except just the ability to love sheer hard work, he failed multiple startups, and yet he learned a whole lot along the way. And I think that's true of all of us as we're in this marketing and entrepreneurial experiment. He barely escaped alive in the war of Ukraine. And even he was living there as an illegal immigrant, and he's lost everything twice. I believe he'll share in his story that he was actually a Syrian refugee as well. Now he's building his life one more time, one day at a time, and sharing the wisdom from the luminaries he has interviewed on his podcast and helping podcasters grow his audience and be able to, accentuate their personal brand and tell better stories. I think what you're going to find really interesting about today is much like me, only in much harsher circumstances. he built an online business, and no matter where he's at, it continues to thrive. So stay tuned. Welcome, Aziz. I'm really excited for you to tell your story today.
Thank you. And story is really what bonds us as human beings. So it was really important for me to know that, to feel that, because I grew up as a little boy to a single mother in North Africa, really in a hard place where my father left before I was born. When my mother was pregnant, she needed to work. I was living with my grandparents, and I needed to be a really good student where I got a scholarship to Europe, to the Netherlands, and I studied there. But there was something missing for me, that I wanted to find my people. I didn't feel I belonged anywhere. There was something either wrong with me, I don't know, I'm a 94% introvert or whatever, where I felt I needed to find my own community. So I wanted to work and start a business online as soon as I knew such a thing was possible.
Yeah, and you guys, I think I got in the intro, I got it wrong. He left Tunisia, not Syria, which, you know, to me, ignorant American, it's all the same to me. It's all in the same area. So I apologize for that, Aziz. So you actually left Tunisia to go to college?
Yes, I lived in the Netherlands, and then I was living the digital nomad life in Brazil, Barcelona, Philippines, Japan, Middle East, whatever it is. But in the last 3 years, I've been on and off to Kiev, where the tech industry was booming. It was affordable. It was colder than I'm used to, but that was refreshing to me. And I even started a podcast to make friends. So I interviewed over 100 people in Ukraine. So I was well connected.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But through all of this, you've been a digital nomad. So when this happened, obviously your life changed dramatically, but your business didn't change. You still were podcasting, personal branding. So talk a little bit about that, if you could.
Even when there were bombs outside, I was using noise cancellation really in order to do my podcasts and all that. It's magnificent. And I want to remind people that there is momentum in everything, that when you start something, especially online, there is a huge period where you see nothing and you're questioning what you're doing. And then suddenly there is an uptick. But with enough experience, I actually started 5 different businesses online, and some of them failed or whatever, but you don't fail. You really learn. You get the skills that make the next one better. And every single time there is a delay between the effort you put today and the results that you get. So no, my business was not affected. And even better, when I had this tragedy, which like everybody, like everybody, I wouldn't expected would happen to me. I was offered like 3 job offers in startups. People wanted to support me by sending me like money, by offering me their homes. It was really incredible, because what I did, I really focused on building relationships through the online business and seeing the world as if there is another country, which is the internet. We're all citizens of it, and therefore we can build relationships so that although I can be here in Romania right now as a refugee, and you're there in the US, but we're together in a virtual world where we're building relationships that would not have been possible in a business that is not online.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said, because I think this is something that so many people don't understand. An online business is not an instant gratification. During COVID, right when COVID hit, we had so many people. I mean, our business just took off, but we had so many people that called and said, oh my gosh, I need to be online and I want to be building the same type of revenue in 3 months. The online building is trial and error and trial and error. And there's no one way that someone can teach you that will work every time. I mean, would you agree with that? Because I think it's finding that balance between how much online marketing and how much personal relationship. How can I take them from that online into a personal relationship where they become a buyer? What are your thoughts on that?
I'll take it even one step further, which is this, and I'll say two parts. One, I'm supposedly one of the best podcasters in the world. I mean, I'm grateful to people who say that, but it took me 9 months of constant podcasting to break through more than 10 listeners. I mean, really, I remember I was using Buzzsprout. I don't use them anymore because I'm much more prolific than what they offer. And one time I had a technical issue. I emailed them. And when they sent me back the email, in the bottom, there were like information about my podcast. And I remember the line clearly. It was estimated number of listeners, 12. And I thought, 9 months of my life for 12 listeners, what's going on? But it's all part of the process. And the second thing, what I believe is, look, what works for me, what will work for you, what will work for the listener or the viewer will be totally unique to them. Yes. It's like a chemistry catalyst experience where life will tell you what works for you, which for someone else might not work. And therefore, you have to pay attention to what works in your own situation and grow that, keep that, manage that, make sure you keep on doing it and test what isn't working. No matter, like other people can be inspiration for you to test ideas rather than giving you the plan, because their journey and your journey is always unique.
That is so true. We have a course going on right now called I Love Content. And we have added one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones to it, because you can't just say, this is the way I'm going to deliver content, because it depends on your personality. It depends on your consistency. It depends on your message. There's so much in there that we decided we had to work with each one of our participants one-on-one throughout the month that they take it. And yeah, I can see that would be. And what's funny is you said you're an introvert. I'm sort of an introvert, but I love podcasting because I get to meet new people all the time.
Yes, one small point, which is a comment on what you said. Nowadays, consistency is so rare. People just do something, give up, and run away. So for those with an imposter syndrome, just you being consistent is a sign, is all the competence you need. You don't need to be some genius or whatever. Most people cannot have like a weekly or a monthly thing, whatever it is that they do for a long period of time. So if you manage to be consistent, even if you consider your content average, just that is impressive by itself. And to me, all this, you spoke about podcasting in the beginning. I'm an introvert. It was a challenge to myself. After each episode, I will need a long nap because I was totally depleted. But I remember there is this thing that you can rewire your brain and change your personality through action. And therefore, right now, I challenge myself. I remember recently what I did in 1 month, 90 episodes. That's 3 episodes a day with editing and everything. I remember one of the days, like Apple emailed me and said, "Are you sure you're a person, or is this like a spam robot producing so much content nowadays?" But it was something that drained me, but it also made me able to handle a lot more. And therefore, I'm using content creation for personal growth, for self-development, for changing myself, strengthening my character in many ways.
Yes, yeah. So that's sort of what we're doing as well. We started Breakthrough Author Magazine this year, and I had no idea how much work it was going to be to put a magazine together. And sometimes before I say this, I love all my contributors, but sometimes I feel like I'm herding cats. And so yeah, it is. And consistency is it is the key. 90, that's a lot. So let me ask you this. I had Tony Lontas on yesterday, and she's an online broadcaster out of Australia. And she was saying, and I totally agree, that probably my first 25 podcasts are embarrassingly bad, but you get better the more you do it, right?
Actually, for me, the story, which is really interesting, my very first podcast, when I was editing it and I mastered it, the voice that happened, it came out like Darth Vader. That was absolutely horrible. And then I had a choice between two things, either to like delete it and do it again, or I thought, look, I will publish that as the first episode. And even weirdly, it only wants to be the second episode. So my first episode is placed as the second, no matter how much I try to make it the first.
Uh-huh.
I thought, look, I will never worrying about being bad, because if someone says, oh, you're getting worse, I'll be like, check my first episode and you'll see that this is wonderful no matter what it is, because I sounded like an alien breathing into the mic, and it wasn't even the original recording. Something happened within the laptop that for some reason it was like haunted or whatever it is, and that episode is horrible.
Well, maybe that's why you had 12 listeners for the first year.
Thank you.
No,
I
but
believe, look, this is the truth about podcasting, which I had to learn. Podcasting is for deepening relationships with people that you already have some type of relationship with. It's not a medium that is made for discovery. And
Mhm.
I assumed it is. And therefore, podcasting is not the way for you to grow your audience. You need some other place to grow your audience and bring them into your podcast in order to deepen that relationship more as a one-on-one en masse. I remember they did some studies to find out Twitter actually is not a good place for discovery, specifically because the biggest accounts are of people who are famous in real life, and Instagram as well. It's a distribution for famous people, while YouTube, and there are other ones, Medium, whatever it is, are places that are made for you to get discovered. And then podcasting can be a way for you to deepen and strengthen the relationship.
Yes, I totally agree with that. And I have met so many people. So I met Aziz on LinkedIn. I don't even remember how we started talking, but it's kind of like that. Most of the people, I see somebody interesting on LinkedIn and hey, let's talk. Like, this isn't a sales call. It's what are you doing? I see you have this or that. Tell me about that.
100%. And I encourage everyone to knock on all doors. There is a concept called the invisible doors that, look, you are here. You're here right now. In the future, there will be a door that will change your life. If you think back 5 years ago, you're not the same person. Some new things happened that made you be here today that were unpredictable. And you never know, because this is what I believe. A lot of people believe, okay, you have to do blah, blah, blah in order to be likable. You have to know how to sell, to know the method for all that. I tried all that and I find that it's not true. There are some people that you have chemistry with instantly, and those will be part of your life beyond any techniques or storytelling or personal branding. And there are people that no matter what you do, even if you're like the perfect person in every sales or social skills or whatever it is, they will not jive with you. And therefore, I find that say hello, because you don't need to do anything. You just need to take the opportunity to find your people, and that's it.
Yeah, that is so, so true. So you have a unique spin on personal branding. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yes, and it comes again. I remember during our other podcast episode, I actually have 4 podcasts. I interviewed almost 600 people since the pandemic. It's absolutely fantastic. Where in the beginning, when growing up, I was very introverted. I didn't know how to communicate well with people, and I did explain that. And then I began thinking, what is personal branding? Because people try to complicate things in order for them to create a brand for themselves. And I thought deeply about it. We grew up in a tribal environment. What's the difference between the people in our tribe who we knew and people who we don't know? There are 2 differences that are clear. One, every person in our tribe, we know their past, we know their present, like where they're located right now, and we understand like where they're going, the future that they have. And therefore, to create your personal brand, and in many ways, I specialize myself in the kind of storytelling that relates to personal branding, which is different to any other kind of storytelling. It's storytelling that shares your values with the world. Part of it is you have to speak stories from your past that makes you become a known and therefore part of the tribe, your present right now, and your vision or goal for the future or purpose. If you have those 3 elements, you become there. as well as an archetype. And I use the Carl Jung archetypes as a summary for it, where in a tribe you had like the hunter, the shaman, the cobbler, the whatever, the carpenter. So people had a general category that you need both to have some kind of archetype, a category. It could be a trickster, it could be a magician, a wizard, a funny person, whatever it is, that represents your true personality through this lens, as well as constantly sharing about your past, present, and future. And when you combine both as a constant process of like a lighthouse where you're shining your light into the world, the people who you have chemistry with, like a sonar, will be attracted and will come to you. They'll be a needle in a haystack, but they will change your life.
That is so true. And trying to pretend you're anything but is not going to work for you, because when I first went into business, I was a little bit of a rebel, but I also was kind of hiding behind my company brand. And when I came out from behind there and said, I work with action people, if you don't like me, leave. Like, you'd be amazed how much business picked up, because that was just me. Like, you know, if you're not ready to take action, I won't have you just sitting in my program doing nothing. That's not how I roll. So I think that personal branding is really important, and being authentic in it. And I know that's so overused, but when people feel like they love your energy and you're genuine, they will buy. When they feel like you know, yeah, I'm really great at marketing, but not good on delivering, but I can sell you. It feels like you're being sold. It doesn't feel real.
I have a really an opinion about this that I will rant a little bit. I will say we live in a world where idiots are very confident, and therefore they share their personalities, they say whatever they want, while good people, smart people, realize their limitations and they're too shy, too reserved, and therefore people who don't know them don't trust them. They see some idiot who's speaking big words, standing tall, being so magnificent and grandiose, and think, wow, that person must know what they're doing, but all they're good at is looking like the alpha person or the leader. While good people, look, I will tell you this, and I discovered it, and it's very important, and trust me on this. Your brain was made to learn from other people's experiences. What does this give you like the opportunity to do? You sharing your thoughts, by definition, even beyond that, trust me, another thing, your brain is like your own fingerprint. Your thoughts are very, very unique to you. Unless you didn't take time to discover your authentic self and you're regurgitating other people's thoughts. If the thing that resonates with your inner self, there is like this resonance. I don't know how to explain it, this energy that, yes, I agree with this, I believe this. When you share that, the combination of those things are unique to you. And when you share them, people, their brain will tune in to listen to another person's experience. And therefore, you're valuable. What you say is valuable because it is authentic to you. You don't need to be amazing. You don't need to revolutionize and invent something that was never heard before. As long as you're speaking your truth, the brain is made in order to listen in and peek into other people's lives and understand their thoughts, their experiences.
Yeah, it is. Aziz, where can we find you if we want to find out more about what you do?
You can check my podcast. It's called nocodewealth.com. And to me, wealth is not even about money. That I want to redefine it. Wealth is about freedom. It's about being around people you love, doing work you love, waking up excited for the day, challenging yourself in the right way. Then you're wealthy, because even in my experience, I almost died in Ukraine. I was in a shelter for many days. I almost couldn't escape in a train because at the time, the priority was for women and men. No men were allowed to leave anywhere. And I'm like, I'm a foreigner. What? But no, it didn't matter. In that journey, I had cash in Ukrainian money, which I still have, because even here, the banks don't want to take it. They're like, this is war money. We don't accept. People helped me out of the kindness of their own hearts. Money made no difference. And therefore, when you think about it, there are too many things valuable in this life. Your time, the people that make you feel whole and happy, that's a billion times worth more than $1 billion.
It is. So
And anybody can message me on LinkedIn, on Twitter, same No Code Wealth, or my full name. I'm happy to help anybody and answer any questions.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for sharing all this today.